an update about climate change. In a post titled Adapt and Overcome, we discussed what nearly 500 million years' worth of climate data might tell us about our present situation and the wisdom with which the Native Americans approach the changing climate. Recently, several articles in media outlets such as the New York Times reported on a study showing that with more Americans taking GLP-1 receptor agonists and losing weight, airlines will save more than $500 million a year on fuel costs, which means that 250 million gallons of jet fuel will not be burnt and emitted into the atmosphere. This may be irrelevant for Greta Thunberg, who prefers to travel by yacht, but it may be a very important consideration for those people who are concerned about climate change, yet cannot avail themselves of a yacht. It turns out that being overweight contributes to global warming, and losing weight is an effective way to combat climate change. Naturally, the effects of one's weight loss go far beyond travel by airplane. Gasoline-powered cars burn up to 2% more fuel for every 100 pounds of extra weight, and up to 8% more when driving uphill. The exact numbers for electric vehicles are difficult to find, but some data suggests that for every 100 pounds of extra weight, the effective range of an electric vehicle is decreased by 1 to 2%. The maths are simple. More energy is required to move more weight, by whichever means this weight is moved: an airplane, a car, a locomotive, a horse-drawn carriage, or a rickshaw. An internal combustion engine requires more fossil fuel. A horse and a rickshaw require more food. Whatever the source of energy, consumption must increase in order to move heavier weight across distance. And speaking of consumption, I am not a scientist, but if I understand correctly, GLP-1 receptor agonists work, essentially, by suppressing appetite. They mimic GLP-1, which slows gastric emptying and reduces appetite and cravings in the brain. In other words, people on GLP-1 drugs lose weight because they simply consume less food, which, it turns out, is good for the environment. The opposite is also true. The level of consumption required to gain and maintain additional 100 to 200 pounds of body mass for years and decades causes additional harm to the environment. Thus, one of the most effective ways to fight climate change may be to lose weight. GLP-1 receptor agonists are one way to consume less. Proper Christian fasting, as opposed to vegan dieting, is another way. And since I know almost nothing about Ozempic, I will speak of fasting. Proper fasting reduces consumption. For example, if one fasts on a Wednesday or a Friday until the 9th hour and then breaks the fast with one simple meal, this means that he does not consume the other 2 meals and snacks on that day. A win for the environment and a win for the waistline. Naturally, with a reduction in consumption comes a reduction in body mass. Your car will consume less fuel. Your rickshaw will require less food. You can feel good about flying in an airplane. You will be able to take the money you save by consuming less and give it to the poor, just as St. John Chrysostom and other church fathers teach. If you want to learn more about Christian fasting, as opposed to vegan dieting, subscribe to Phroneo. It is still only $5 per month, the price of 2 gallons of petrol. When you subscribe, you will be able to overconsume as much Phroneo content as you want, including our recent wonderful interview about fasting practices of Athonite monks, all without contributing to global warming. To be sure, Christians do not fast because of concerns about climate change. But if climate change is something that concerns you, adopting a more ascetical lifestyle just may be the answer.